that case, we can start trying to make a little bit of jewelry. I'm mainly just doing this not to be like a how-to or anything like that. I just thought it might be fun to hang out with you guys while I'm trying to do my hobbies. I figure that'll also make it so that I'm more likely to actually do things and actually make things if I have people that are waiting for me to do it. And they're like, hey, you said you were going to do this. When's it going to start? So I'm still very much a novice when it comes to jewelry making. When I was a kid, I used to, like, get little plastic bead sets, and I'd made bracelets for me, my sisters, my cousins, all that sort of thing. Here we go. But it wasn't until last year that I randomly decided I wanted to get back into it and started trying to figure out how to do it right, how to do it professionally. I say professionally, but I'm not a professional. I'm still just a hobbyist, a novice. So, I've got the string right here for my bracelet that I'm going to make. But before I actually cut that, I should start by, what I usually do is I pattern out the beads that I want to use. I've got a bead board here that I can make my bracelets patterning out here in the bottom one, or necklaces here in this. And that makes it just so that I can set out the bracelet, make sure that it looks pretty before I even start putting it on the string. Let's see. I've got various different metals here. I don't know if you guys can see these very well. I've got some yellow gold, some more muted rose gold, some copper, some brass, some silver. Anybody have any preferences on what metal I should base this around before I start putting colors together? Or alternatively, we could pick colors first and then just get a metal that works good with it. I've got so many beads. I love shopping for beads, honestly. If it weren't for how pretty beads are, I probably wouldn't. I do have copper. Yes, I do. So when I make bracelets, there are a lot of different kinds of clasp styles that you can make, but I like to use toggle clasps. So what that is are these tiny little things here. It's hard to see. That they toggle together into a bracelet like this. You just take it and you slip it in like that, and then it will hold itself shut. So that's how I like to, I actually flipped you off. That's how I like to do my bracelets. So I've got a couple of copper toggles there. Now copper, usually I can match that with a lot of different colors. I've got reds, blues, greens, yellows, oranges, purples, all that sort of thing. A lot of warm colors go really good with copper. So maybe we'll try to do some red or yellow or orange or something like that. So for the most part, I like to keep all of my beads color coordinated. It's just me, so this is my red box. I feel weird, like I'm trying to like talk you guys through all of this, but I've got some really nice ones here. Just really nice, pretty beads. What I like to do is I like to pick some like big center beads first. Like this is a nice, pretty red, large bead, so I might put a couple of those in this pattern. And that way I can just sort of start building the rest of it around that. So if I do 3 of those, I also like to mix the solids with some more sparkly things just to add a little bit of sparkle. I've got these really pretty dark reds that are hard to see on camera. I don't know, they might be a little too dark. I've also got some lighter reds in here. Those are prettier, I think. And so I'll probably do a few of those. It's all basically just a matter of like seeing what's pretty and then putting it together. It's real simple. I don't like to do too many of one color in one bracelet because I like to accent it with a whole lot of other things. So I might get more into the red box later, but maybe not. I don't know if I'll do yellow. I've got a ton of neutral beads that I like to match with it. So if I got copper, let's see. Nice to have you join us. Do whatever. Right now I'm just planning out my beads, what I'm gonna make. So I've got a lot of copper stuff here. I don't have a whole lot of storage, so I kind of have to put all of my different beads in a whole lot of different things. And I just dropped one, but I'll pick it up later. Anyone from my family? No, actually. I'm the only person in my family who got into jewelry making. All of us are creative in one way or another. One of my sisters, she did a lot of baking for a while. She was learning how to sew and that sort of thing. Really into that. 3 of us are writers. I'm the only one who so far has made a bit of a career out of it, but 3 of us, we've just written things since we were kids. Always writing. Always trying to get some story told. My dad is a writer as well. He also is not published or anything like that. He just does it as a hobby while he's trying to get published, but so far it's just a hobby for him too. Let's see here. My wife is a D&D writer mainly. She likes to make D&D campaigns for her friends and everything. But she works on the road, so she hardly ever gets to play, so that's sad. But no, I'm the only one that got into jewelry. Trying to find one more copper. There we go, that's good. So, put the rest of these back in here. Pick up all the ones I'm dropping everywhere. What I'm starting with. Right now I'm starting with a bracelet. I'm going to do some reds and some coppers. I have a lot of wood beads that go really good with this style. I've got some dark wood. They're really nice and glossy. It's really hard to tell on the camera, but some really nice polished dark wood beads. So I'm going to put a whole bunch of those out. Right now I'm not necessarily building up the pattern. Right now I'm just getting a whole bunch of beads all together so that I can start building up the pattern. And then I've got a whole lot of miscellaneous beads here. A lot of the beads that I get them in like just bags of a whole lot of beads mixed up and everything. Or I'll get a strand of beads like a lot of my beads I get from Joann's. If you go there on a sale, you can get just strands of these kinds of like beads. There's just a group of them. And people could just turn this into a bracelet if they want, but I usually like to take them apart and put them in boxes, and the dropping noises make some nice ASMR. I've always thought so. This particular strand I kind of regret buying, but I got it on like super clearance. It was like $1 for it. Not usually colors that I usually use, but you know, they're around for if I want some. But since I get a lot of bags that have miscellaneous, that means I end up with a lot of miscellaneous beads. So right now I got a whole lot of wood beads here that I can use to build this necklace out a little bit. I like to try to keep my necklaces relatively patterned, so if there's a bead that just is not matched, there's one bead without anything that goes with it, I tend to just save those forever because I never find a use for them. Maybe now that I'm starting to make like necklaces and stuff too, maybe I'll start using more single beads as opposed to trying to stick to patterns all the time. I am constantly dropping my beads all over the place. it's mainly just the early stage is just about finding colors and shapes that just look really nice together, and then organizing them into something that you think looks pretty, that you think people might want to wear. When I first started taking beading seriously last year, my plan was to make a whole bunch of bracelets that like went with fictional characters in some of my original stories, because my plan was I was going to try to write my books and publish my books, and then I was going to try to go to fairs and things and sell them, and sell bracelets that matched the characters alongside it, so people could buy bracelets if they wanted that went with the characters in the books. But even though it was fun at first, I started to feel like it was kind of restricting me, because instead of being able to just make anything I wanted in any colors or metals or patterns or everything, I was sitting there always trying to fit it to a character. So I was like, I think that I just have to separate these into two different hobbies. I still do intend to make bracelets and jewelry and things that could go with a character or with my books and everything, but that's more for just like fun, more than actually trying to make it into something that I sell in tandem. I don't think I want any of those beads, actually. So now I've got a whole bunch of the wood and some of the beads. So next I'm going to try to find some good spacers. And these are things like bead caps. I've got some real nice copper bead caps here. And what they are is they're just these thin little pieces of metal that you put on the end of your beads. That one's a little bit too big. And if you put them on the end of your beads, it just gives a nice little, it's hard to tell, it's hard to look at, a nice little end to your bead. That's too dark. I wasn't able to actually illustrate that very well. But maybe you can see on this old bracelet that I made last year, how on this center bead there are just these bead caps. They add some nice decoration, give it a little more visual interest. So I'll just take a handful of those and stick them up here on my bead board so that I can put them on as I see fit. These ones are more brass and less copper, so I'm not going to go with that. It's just a good way to add a little bit of sparkle and shine to your bracelet. So, let's see, now I've got the kinds of beads that I want, so I'm going to start building this into a bracelet. I'm going to try to adjust my camera so that you guys can see it a little bit better instead of focused on me. Alright, so I like to start with a center bead here. I'm going to pick a couple of larger bead caps. I'm going to see if I can find some that fit. Ah! And it has rolled away and escaped into the bottom of the board. So let's see. Because some of these bead caps are bigger than others, so I might be able to find some that relatively fit pretty well. That's a little bit of a stretch, but I think I can manage that. So I like to stick them just right here next to the bead. Are these different sizes? They look like they're different sizes. Nope, they're the same. I just stick them on the board next to the bead so that they don't get lost underneath it. Let's put some of these round ones on either side of this. I think that might just be pretty. When I'm doing a necklace, I might not build it out so symmetrically, but with bracelets, I really like to give them a little bit of symmetry. I think that looks nice. I like to have a mix between large and small beads so that they don't lose each other, but at the same time they don't, they're not so wildly different that it makes it a problem. I'm not sure. a lot of this is gonna be just me starting to make things and tearing it apart and then starting it up again and adding more beads and being like, you know what, I think I want more red in this thing after all. Let's actually just put those there. I also have different sizes marked off here. It's hard to tell, but these are, the bead boards are marked with inches, so it starts with 0 in the middle for the bracelet, and then it goes out 1, 2, 3, like that, so you can tell about how long your bracelets are. I'm trying to make bracelets with a... I will wait for the rest of that sentence because that I'm interested in that. I saw you actually say that you, with a kit you got for Christmas, struggled with closing a piece. Yeah, that's really hard. So, when I'm getting to that point, I will also show you how I close my bracelets. I'm still not very good at it. It's like one of those things where now I kind of know how I'm supposed to, but it's a matter of trying to actually do it that really gets me. So yeah, I'll definitely show you kind of my process with that when we get there. But yeah, I saw on your Discord you were saying that you were thinking about making bracelets and getting started on that. I thought that was really cool. It's so fun. Like I said, I used to do it when I was a kid, but also when I was a kid, I used to do this thing. Making the bracelets was very fun for me and everything, but my favorite thing to do was to get all of my beads, and I had one bead kit case like you have, and I would shake them all up so that they'd all get mixed up, and I'd dump them on my carpet, and then I would spend hours carefully reorganizing them into patterns and shapes. I am surprised that it took me as long as it did to realize that I'm pretty sure I'm like a bit autistic, because my favorite thing to do whenever I was stressed was go in my room, destroy my beads, and then reorganize them to make them all pretty again. And it's very relaxing. It really just relaxes me to do all this. And it's time consuming, and it'll probably be less time consuming the more I actually get used to it and the more I learn. But for now, it's pretty time consuming. Because I like to take my time with it. I like to try new things out and figure out what I like to do. And like, I think that this bracelet is turning too dark. I need to add a little bit of light. This will probably put these right, sneaking them in here on either side of this big red one. And then maybe I'll do more on these other red ones too. And I'm thinking that I need some more of these. So, let's get them back out. Just get a couple more. It really helps to be organized. I don't have enough storage for all the beads that I get, though. I've got more that I've ordered coming in, but it'll take a while to get there. I think I also actually do want more sparkly red ones. So I'm going to get that out. More of these. And as you can see, I'm also still a bit of a mess. I've got half-finished projects and junk up here. Alright, let's see here. I haven't used any of these copper things that I got out. I really want to. They're very pretty. But I'm not sure where to put them. Maybe I'll just put them on the ends here. I also run into this problem where I'm like, oh, I'm just going to go into, I get to the part that I marked for a small bracelet today. I'm just going to make a small one. But then I'm just like, there's so many cool beads that I want to add to this design. So then most of my bracelets end up so long and so, like, large. And I like to make large bracelets because, you know, if I'm going to be selling these, I need to have a lot of different sizes. And I want to make sure that everyone can wear some of my bracelets, but at the same time they all get so long that I'm just like, I can't wear these. Because that's also a fun thing I like to do, is I do like to wear my own bracelets when I go places sometimes. I'm not planning on selling for a very long time yet. I'm trying to stockpile everything before I take it to there's a local art shop in my town that sells, you know, local art and handmade jewelry and all that sort of thing. So I'm hoping to get in there, but I have to actually make enough jewelry to actually get there before I can send it in and be like, hey, you got a place for me? I really want to use these, but I'm just not finding a good spot for them. Maybe I'll not use these square ones. I've got these square wooden beads. At that point, you're starting to make a necklace. Yep. Once it gets too long, I'm starting to make a necklace, and that's not what I wanted. So I always have to be careful and thoughtful about which beads I put in, how long it is. I'm not the one that I'm. Do you make bracelets of one same size, or do you have ways of making them adjustable for different wrists? At the moment, I don't have any ways of making any adjustable bracelets. I'm kind of looking into it, trying to figure out how to get that going. But for now, for just at the moment, I only really know how to make bracelets in different sizes, as opposed to a bracelet that could be different sizes. With a lot of those, you would have to add, you know, extra chain, and instead of the toggle clasps that I usually like to use, you would use lobster clasps, which I usually only use on necklaces. I don't think I have any out right now. Where are my lobster clasps? This is why I say I need more organization, is because I just have so much stuff just like... Here we go. Got them. I use these for necklaces, but they also could be used for bracelets. They're just the little kind of, the little clasps that you can open and close and put on the end of, like, necklaces and things, so that you can just clasp it on. And when you have something like that, you can have, like, a long link of chain that people can put the clasp on to whichever link is the right size for them. Like I said, I use those with necklaces most of the time. Like I made this necklace as part of a Christmassy set, but it has the lobster clasp, so you can just put it on whatever length of chain you need. But with bracelets, that's harder to do, and so I usually just do the lobster clasp. I'm thinking like this looks like a pretty good design here. So, I have my clasp set aside here, but now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the rest of these unused beads in this little tray so that they won't get in my way, and I can organize them and put them away later. If I ever do get around to that. As you can see from the back, I don't always put everything away when I'm done with it. Got my clasps, so now I'm going to get into findings, which are, that necklace is so cute. Oh, yeah. I actually, with the Christmas one, I made a full set that's supposed to be, like, sold as a pair. I mean, as a group. So I've got the necklace, and I've got this bracelet that goes with it, and I've got some earrings that go with it as well. And so it's just this nice little Christmassy set that somebody would potentially be able to buy if they were, like, going to a holiday party or something. I love Christmas. I have kind of quit most of my old holidays that I celebrated growing up, but Christmas is just one that I haven't really been able to give that one up. Let's see here. So I've got all these different findings, which are just things like, they're how you finish the bracelet. There's a lot of different ways to finish a bracelet, but this is just the way that I usually like to do it. I have these things called wire guards. They're going to be put on the very ends of the bracelet so that you can attach the bracelet to the toggle clasps. So I'm going to have a couple of those because I just need two. But I might actually grab a couple more just in case. Because like I said, I'm still very much a novice. And I tend to break the things when I'm trying to finish them. So I have to prepare for that. Those are more brass. I also have these things. they're I am blanking on what the name is. I can't remember what they're called. They're just like little clamshell things that they're gonna go on. They're just gonna work with everything else in tandem to make the bracelet actually function as a bracelet while still looking pretty and professional. And a lot of them are stuck together, so I always have to try to break some of them apart and get one that I can actually use. And I am not actually very good with my hands. Build up more throughout the month rather than the holiday itself. That's fair. The build up over the month is always really fun for me too. There we go. And I dropped one of them. I will pick that up later. But I have 2 of those now. Crimp shell covers. They're crimp colors. Covers. My mouth does not always say the things I want it to say. So they are crimp covers, and then these are the crimps. I don't have any in copper right now. I only have silver and gold, but that is okay because they're going to be covered by the copper crimp covers. So I just have a couple of those. I'll grab a couple more because, like I said, I tend to break these things more often than finish them, and then I have to start them over. So I'm going to put a couple of those out. I am not very steady. I do not have a steady hand. So, you know, of course I decided to get into bead making and writing and art. That's just what I decided to curse myself with it. I better put this somewhere else a little more secure. So now I think I've got everything I need, so I'm going to start making the bracelet. So first off, I'm going to cut off more wire than I need. Now there's a lot of different kinds of beading wire that you can use, and I didn't realize that at first last year, so I was buying the wrong kinds, and it was making all my bracelets really stiff and not good. They just weren't working. You can use more stiff jewelry wire like this, and that's for things like, you know, wire wrapping and making your own little things like this was not made very well. It was just a practice, but I made this wire wrapped stone. I wish it would actually put that into the center focus, but I made this little wire wrapped stone. I'm going to take it apart and try again now that I have a bit better of an idea of how to do it. But that's what you use that kind of wire for. But then this is flexible wire that you can use for making bracelets and that sort of thing. And I wish I had known that at first, because I had bought a lot of like wire instead of beading strands. And then I was like, why are my bracelets not moving the way they're supposed to? You know, they're supposed to be a little bit of give. They're supposed to be kind of flexible. The one I'm wearing right now, I didn't make it myself. I bought it at an art fair before I started making jewelry, but it's one of my favorites. I was like, my bracelets aren't moving the way that I want them to, and I couldn't figure out what it was. Finally, I just looked it up online, and it was like the most simple thing in the world. It's like, well, you're using the wrong wire. Anyway, so the first thing I do is I put a tiny little crimp bead on the end of this, and then I'm going to string it through a beading wire. First one end and then the other end, which makes a nice, perfect little loop. And this will also protect the wire from getting from wearing out too much or all that sort of thing. What will be the primary color on the first bracelet? So on the first bracelet, I've got a lot of reds here. So it's going to be, the primary color is going to be red, and it's going to be accented with a lot of like dark, deep browns for the wood and that sort of thing. Wood and copper. That's going to be its main thing. So now I'm going to take one of my 2 clasps, the one that'll go into the other one. And I usually like to start with the bar as opposed to the circle, because the bar is harder to actually put onto a bracelet. So I like to do that first before I have the whole thing beaded up. So now I've got the clasp hooked onto the wire guard, and now I'm going to put the end of the wire in through the crimp bead again. So now the crimp bead is going to be the anchor that closes this end of the bracelet up. Now I've got this tool called a crimp tool, and there's two little latches here, or two little slots. One of them has a like it's a bean shape, and so I'm going to put that in there, and I'm going to try to do this right. I'm going to crimp the bead into holding the wire closed. I gotta try to do this more carefully with my shaky hands. So I need to hold it down. And you're supposed to try to make it so that when the crimp bead gets folded over, the string is going to be on either side of the fold, which I'm not very good at doing yet. You also want to get it as close to the wire guard as possible, but not like, well, not as close to it as possible, because you don't want it to be flush against it. But you want to get it onto the, you want to get it pretty close to the wire guard. And like I said, I'm not very good at it yet. It's one of those things, I technically know what I'm supposed to do, but knowing what you're supposed to do and being able to do it are two different things. So I've just squeezed it down with the first one. And then you move it on to the second one, which is just a round one. And you squeeze it closed. And that is supposed to hold it tight. I don't do it well enough, though, to be able to hold it tight by itself. So then I also go through with these wire nose pliers. Round nose pliers, that's what they're called. And I squeeze it shut even more, just to make sure that it stays the way it's supposed to. There we go. That's the good angle. And now that is pretty well secure, I think. It's very finicky, and a lot of people, you're supposed to just like, the more you do it and the more you practice, the easier it is to be done. This is not quite going right. It's all just a matter of finding out how to make it work. Alright, that's probably about as good as I'll do it. The important thing is to make sure that it can't pull free. So I'm giving it some good tugs, and it's good. The trans bracelet you made for your partner was gorgeous. It got me thinking if LGBT-centered bracelets have a greater demand on market. I am definitely planning on making a lot of, queer bracelets, LGBTQ bracelets, that sort of thing, because I want to wear them, so I imagine other people will want to as well. And also, if you're planning on selling your stuff like at a stand at like a market or a fair or something, then I feel like it's a good idea to kind of make sure that you have a lot of wares that fit that theme. Like, my plan is to slowly build up my stock, and then in a couple of years I'm going to try to sell it at a winter market that my town puts on every year. So I'm going to try to set up a stand and sell bracelets and necklaces and things at a winter market. And that's why I made the Christmas stuff. But there's also other things. There's other events like a Renaissance fair that gets put on in a neighboring city that I might consider looking at in like 3 or 4 years. Or a pride event. Like, we have a pride event in my town. So maybe one day I might try to do that. I am suddenly realizing that I cannot use these because they are way too big and they would not actually fit on my bracelet very well. Like this, it's gonna go right down all the way over it. That's not a good fit. So I can't use those. At least not in that space that I had them in. So I'm gonna rework some of this. I'll probably put them here instead and close it with this wood one. That's just tiny little adjustments that you make while you're doing the bracelets. But yeah, so I'm gonna try to make a lot of pride themed bracelets because people will wear them. They will want them. And these still are too big. So I'm gonna try to actually, what I'm gonna do is get back into my red box and get seed beads, which are just really small, tiny little beads that you can put on the ends of your bracelets so that you can just kind of fit them better with the rest of the pieces. I'm not sure if those actually are good sizes for these though. Okay, yeah, those will be fine. I just had to make sure that they wouldn't just fall into the hole of the larger bead. So those are tiny. They're not going to add a whole lot of length to the bracelet. And it'll make it so that I can actually string these beads without it just falling all over each other. So now I'm going to start doing the beading. So you're just going to put the beads onto the string. It's important at the very first one to make sure that they fit over both of the ends that had gone through the thing. So now I'm going to put these beads on. And in fact, if you have a bead that has too big a hole for the string, I like to use these things. They're very thin, narrow beads, but they're pretty long. So I just like to sneak one of them in there, and it'll fall into the hole of the larger bead, and it'll protect the wire so that the wire doesn't get too chewed up by the edges of the beads. But that's just a little thing that I've been trying to do lately that I think is kind of just... I don't know if this is why these beads were invented. I don't think they were intended for this purpose, but it just makes me feel a little better. And then plus the bead isn't going to like roll around too much on the wrist. It's going to have a little bit of a buffer there so that it'll stay where it's supposed to around all the other beads. So I'm going to do the same with this metal one here because it is just very thick. And so it needs, and the hole is very wide. So it just needs a little bit of something to protect the wiring beneath it. And that'll make it less likely for the wire to snap. Alright. And now I've got to the part where I'm using the bead caps. So I'm going to put one of them on. And then I put the bead on to rest on the cap, and then the other cap to rest on the bead, and that just makes it so that there's a nice little bit of an accent there. Then it's just a matter of stringing the rest of the bracelet. That one might be a little wide, so I'm going to put a couple of these protector things on there. Just sneak them into that bead, maybe a third. Yeah, that's perfect. More bead caps. It's getting pretty quiet, but that's okay because, like, what is there to talk about right now? I've got more of these bead caps. This bracelet did end up probably the largest size that I would want to make a bracelet. They always do. There's just so many cool beads. And I want to fit as many of them on as I can, and it makes it so pretty that I just have a hard time limiting myself and making things smaller. Oh, you know what? I've forgotten to put the... I need to fix this, because I'd forgotten to start putting the little protector beads in here. And some of these wide ones. So put a wide one. That's another thing, is sometimes I just get so caught up in the monotony of doing one specific task that I forget to pay attention and do the tiny little in-between steps that just make it a little bit nicer. Like, speaking of that trans bracelet that I made for my wife for Christmas, after she opened it in the present and she'd worn it a couple of days and everything, I had to take it apart and put it back together differently because I had, like, it was a little too big for her because I made it too big. So I had to take it apart and take a couple of small beads off and restring it. And when I was doing that, I realized that I had put one of these bead caps on upside down. So I'm going to do it here to demonstrate. Although it's kind of hard to see. Instead of it cupping the bead that it was supposed to, it was cupping the next bead in an asymmetrical pattern like that. And I hadn't noticed it when I first made the bracelet because I was just so caught up in making the bracelet. So then when I was taking it apart already to make it smaller, I was able to fix that too. It's just so easy to forget a step or to do a step the wrong way. Like, now I was talking about that, so now I forgot to put the little wide bead protector things on here. It takes a surprising amount of focus to make this sort of stuff. I hadn't thought at first that I would need to spend so much time thinking about what I was doing while I was doing it. Because, you know, when I was a kid and I would make bracelets for, like, you know, myself and my friends and everything, it was all cheap plastic beads, which I actually have a lot of them because part of my plan is to make a whole lot of, like, little kids bracelets and stuff to sell for real cheap next to all my more polished and more adult-looking jewelry. Not adult as in, you know, rated M, but, like, just bracelets that are appealing more to adults. But so when I was a kid, I used to make, you know, plastic cheap bracelets and everything like that. And I never had to worry about, oh, this bead is too wide for the wire. It's not going to sit right. It's not going to stretch right. And so it was just like I would be able to just knock out a bracelet and be done with it. And it was fun because I was just a kid and it was a craft. But it takes a lot more focus. When I started getting into it as an adult and trying to do a good job, more focus than I thought it would. And it especially doesn't work very well if you've got such shaky hands. It's also just so silly to me that I ended up wanting to do this kind of thing and writing and art and that sort of thing because I'm also extremely touch sensitive on my fingertips. I don't like to touch things with my fingertips. So as you can see, even here, I'm holding it so far down my finger because I don't want to have it on my fingertips. And so it's like, yeah, now I'm going to learn how to make jewelry, which is always using your fingers for every tiny little thing. Just one way that my mind doesn't want to do what my body wants to do. I'm too creative for my own good. That's also why I'm wearing this, like, compression brace on one of my wrists, my right hand. Oh, why am I doing that yet? First, this is because since everything I do involves using my right hand, whether I'm typing or drawing or making something, uh, I can get real bad carpal tunnel real fast. Or not officially, but like I don't know. It just hurts. So I have to wear a brace all the time when I'm doing things. They're not very good ones either, because I just get the cheapest thing that I can find at Walmart. Not Walmart, but like, I don't shop at Walmart. But Meijer or whatever other box store I happen to have to use because I don't have enough money to do anything else. But, you know, every little thing helps, so that's good. I'm getting kind of close to the end here. And then I'll have to close this bracelet, which is very difficult and not something that I'm very good at doing. Alright. Oh, yep, I already had also forgotten a step over here. Way at the beginning of the bracelet. So I'm going to take care of that real quick. But in order to preserve this, so that I don't have to restring it, I'm just going to put a keychain. I'm going to take a keychain and slip it onto the string to just kind of securely keep it closed. There actually is an official tool that does something kind of like this, except better. But it costs some money. And I don't really have unlimited money to spend on this. So I just have to make do with using whatever tools I have. So way back at the beginning, what I should have done before I did any stringing was taking these crimp covers that I mentioned. This is going to be so much harder now. I did the entire thing. Okay, so you're going to take this crimp cover and slide it over the squashed crimp that you made that holds the bracelet closed. And it's very finicky and very delicate and very difficult for me to do. And sometimes if the crimp bead is a little bit bigger than the crimp cover is meant to handle, you kind of have to squeeze it on. Because I am not the type of person who can afford to buy crimp covers in every color and every size. So I just have to make do with what I have. So I'm trying to squeeze it into place. It's not wanting to fit. Sometimes I have to try to widen it out a little bit before it'll go onto its proper spot. And for that I just use these needle nose pliers to kind of just try to open it up a little bit, which is also very difficult to do. I am glad that I noticed this before I tried to close the other end, though, because that would have been almost impossible, and I would have had to cut the wire, which would have made it unusable, and I would have had to start over completely. And that wastes resources, it wastes the crimp beads that I would have had to cut off, and all of that sort of thing. And like I said, I dropped it, so I'll have to pull that. I'll have to find another one later. I'm sure that there are easier ways to do this sort of thing, but until I find out what those ways are, I just have to try to do my best to just get it in place. I also think maybe I don't have my crimp bead itself squashed well enough. That might be making it difficult to put the cover on it. In fact, yeah, I think that's what it is. I'm gonna try to squash this crimp bead a little bit better. But at the same time, if you overwork these things, they stop becoming usable. They stop working if you fiddle with them too much. So it's kind of a, you know, damned if you don't, damned if you do kind of situation. I don't think that actually did much. And honestly, these little copper ones that I have are they're just too small for the crimp beads that I'm trying to use with them. So it's not their fault that that I'm not able to do this so quickly or so easily. And this is also why I know that I'm not going to actually have enough jewelry to start, you know, actually selling it at fairs and things for a good couple of years. It's because when it takes me this long to finish a bracelet, it's not very efficient. I wouldn't be able to turn product around fast enough in order to actually sell a whole lot of stuff very quickly. As I get more practiced and as I get a little better at it, I'm hoping to be able to do things more quickly, more efficiently. God, this is a tough one. Sometimes they're actually easy. Sometimes I can literally just snap one on there and be done. But it's just so tricky sometimes. It doesn't want to be here. There we go. It snapped on. Okay, so now I take my crimping bead tool and I close it up because it's a clamshell thing. So I put the tool around it, not the bean part, but the rounded part, and I just carefully squeeze it closed. And I maneuver it around a little bit so that I can close it up nice without it getting all misshapen. And it still will get a little misshapen sometimes. But the thing is, it doesn't actually have to be perfect in order to be good. So that's a little bit misshapen. I would have preferred to have it be a little bit better. If I was doing it before I had strung all the beads, it probably would have been easier. But I missed that step because I was just not paying attention, not thinking. And so there, now that crimp bead is in the spot. Now that's where it's supposed to be. So now I'm going to do pretty much the same thing on the other end, which is what makes it difficult. So now I can take that keychain off. So I'm going to put the, oh, before I put the crimp bead on it, I should find that cover that I dropped. I'll do it later. I'll just get a new one out for now. The crimp covers are a little bit pricier than some of the other things that I have to buy for this sort of thing. So I really don't like losing them. And as you can see, I only have a few more of the copper ones left. This thing is almost empty. So I have to restock my copper pretty soon. And of course they are stuck together. Try to get them unstuck. There we go. Alright, so crimp bead goes on first. Then the wire cover String the wire cover through both ends. And now the toggle slides right over the crimp cover. I mean the wire guard. Well, it's supposed to, but this one is kind of misshapen. Okay, maybe if I do the other end. Nope. This crimp cover, this wire guard seems to be defective. It was falling apart as I was trying to use it, and yet at the same time it was not letting me put the clasp on. That's what happens when you buy, like, the cheapest versions of something you can find. Once I start trying to earn a little more money with things, and have a little more spending money, I'll start trying to buy higher quality findings. As opposed to, I usually try to get all of my supplies, like I said, on sale at Joann's. There, that one fit. Either on sale at Joann's or I use eBay for some things. I'll go and find, you know, old bead kits that people are selling that they used to use and they don't use them anymore. And I'll try to find those. So now that I have the clasp and the wire guard and the crimp bead, I'm stringing it through the first red bead that I have there that holds it all together. And I'm pulling that pretty tight. You don't want it to be too tight because then the bracelet's not going to sit right. But you also don't want it to be too loose, so you're going to have just loose wire in between your beads, and nobody wants that. So now I'm going to try to hold that as tight as I can in the position I have it, and use my crimp tool to squash the crimp bead. Once again, I'm trying to get it close to the wire guard without being flush against it. Squeeze that crimp bead, put it together. It's harder to do on the closing end because now you're in between your bead and your clasp. So that just makes it a little extra tricky, extra difficult. And then I'm going to come through and squeeze it shut. Now again, there's actually a better tool for this than needle nose pliers. There's like chain nose pliers, flat nose pliers, that sort of thing. But I don't have those, so I'm just using the chain nose pliers. I mean the needle nose pliers. So now that's squeezed pretty shut. I think that's a good amount of wire left over. So now I'm going to take the last crimp cover and I'm going to fight with it to get it onto this bead like I did with the other one. And I'm going to drop it, but luckily that didn't fall off the desk this time. I'm going to fight. Alright, that one actually went on a lot easier than the first one. So I have that on there. Use my crimp tool to close it. Do a couple different angles so that it's nice and round. And that actually went a lot smoother than it usually does. I'm not even kidding. It usually takes me so freaking long to close a bracelet. So then there's just this last little bit. Off topic, do you plan on posting your speed paint videos of your art? So I'm actually not going to be making speed paint videos because the thing about speed paint videos is if you scroll in and out of your picture over and over again and then you put it on speed paint, it just goes so fast and it makes me dizzy. I'm a little bit light sensitive and flash sensitive and that sort of thing. So it makes me dizzy when I'm watching a speed paint that scrolls in and out over and over again. And so since that's how I draw, I'm not going to be posting speed paints. But I will be doing live streaming of my art and talking to you guys while I'm live streaming and that sort of thing. My current plan is to post those videos onto YouTube and anybody can watch them. But I'm going to make it so that eventually I'm going to make it so that when I'm streaming, it'll be closed to Ko-Fi subscribers. So only Ko-Fi subscribers, which I don't have yet, but I'm going to launch them. Ko-Fi subscribers will be able to chat with me like what you're doing now, and then they're going to, and then I'm just going to post the videos for everybody to see. So the videos will not be subscriber only or Ko-Fi only, but the chats, the live chats will be. So now, right now, I'm just going to finish this off real quick. I snip off the last little bit of wire. And then I'm going to tuck the last little snippet of it into the bigger bead in front of it, which I'm just now realizing did not have any of these things in there to protect it. So anyway, though, that is the finished bracelet. So you just put it on and you get the toggle, pull it through, and then it will hold itself shut. And then, like I said, it's too big for me. I made it too big for my hand. It just easily slides off. I like to wear my bracelets a little bit big. I think that it's cool when it's kind of just like hanging a little bit on your wrist instead of right up flush where it's supposed to be, like that. I like it when it's hanging over my hand a little bit. But this one was too big. This one I can just pull off and on. But, so that's a finished bracelet. It sits pretty well. It moves pretty well, I think. Thank you. It is beautiful. I agree. Tooting my own horn there. So yeah, that's the bracelet. I think next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some earrings probably. What time is it? 2:40? Cool. I'm going to make a couple of sets of earrings, because they're actually really easy. They don't take as long as bracelets do, if you have the right tools. Some people, they make the entire earring themselves, but I don't do that. I can't do that yet. I use findings, and right now I only have them in silver. I don't have any other colors, so I'm going to make some silver earrings. I have some on order, but they're taking a long time to get here. So, it's hard to see, but I have these little earring hooks. They come with the hook already there. They have the backing on them and everything. And so I'm going to take a couple of those. Maybe I'll make 2 pairs. So I'll have some of those there. It's looking great. Thank you. Uh-oh. Actually, I will only be making 1 pair because I only have 3 of these things. And you kind of need... You can't make an earring with just 1 hook. So, I mean, you can make an earring, but you can't make a pair of earrings. So I will only be making 1 pair of earrings today. And then I will be reordering more stuff. You said you were going to live stream your piece for our art trade sometimes. Will that be relegated to Ko-Fi? So, no, not really. Well, I mean, eventually the chat will be relegated to Ko-Fi, but since you're the... Yeah, you're not really in a position to donate to a Ko-Fi, but still like to see me. Yeah, since it's a piece for you, since we're doing the art trade, I'm going to make sure that you get invited, even if you're not a Ko-Fi subscriber. Because... that just only seems fair. We're trading art. I'm working on your piece, so I'm absolutely going to let you in on it, even if the chat is closed to Ko-Fi subscribers for everybody else. So don't worry, I got you covered. Do whatever. All right. Let's see. So I got my earring hooks, and so what I use for earrings are these really long head pins. And so it has this pin on one side of it. Awesome, thanks. Yep. It's got a pin on one side of it that will stop the beads from falling off, and then the other side is just plain wire. I don't know if I want to make a really big pair this time, though. I kind of want to make something a little... Well, you know what? Let's make some big pairs of earrings. So we got some of these. So we got some really long head pins here. And first thing I have to do is try to straighten them. Once again, there is a tool that you can use to easily and quickly straighten your wire, but I do not have that tool just yet, so I have to kind of work at it, straighten this wire. So I kind of take my needle nose, flat nose things here, and I kind of just try to straighten it out without doing too much damage to the wire itself. And it's really finicky because the thing about the needle nose pliers is they also have flush cutters. So if I go too far this way, I would just snap the thing right off. I would cut it right off. And that's not good because I have a limited number of these things. So right now I'm just kind of trying to squeeze it all straightened. Or as straightened as I can, at least. Will the stream be deleted eventually? Nope, I do not plan on deleting the stream. Once I'm done streaming, I am planning on just posting it right to YouTube. And so that way it'll exist, it'll be there, so anybody can watch it who wants to. And that's what I'm going to do eventually when it's Ko-Fi subscriber chats and everything. The subscribers will be allowed to chat, and then I will post it on YouTube once it's done streaming, and everyone else will be able to watch if they want. But here we go. And it's not gonna, this isn't gonna be perfectly straight, and I have to just come to grips with that, that I'll never be able to make anything perfectly straight. But the thing is, a lot of times, this kind of handmade jewelry and everything, people aren't looking for it to be perfectly straight. If they wanted perfect jewelry, they would get the mass-produced factory stuff that you could find in any store. If people are paying to have something that was handmade, a lot of times they'll be way more forgiving for tiny little imperfections like this. So now that I've got that straightened, I'm going to try to straighten the other one. The other one was already much straighter, so I'm not going to have as much hard of a time with this one. Yeah, so that's pretty okay. Alright, so since we're doing silver, let's do a different color as instead of red. I've got some really nice blues. I've got some purples, some pinks. Maybe let's do blue. I have so many blue beads. I don't know why. Blue isn't even really my favorite color. But I just have... You find so many of these cool blue beads everywhere. So let's see here. Maybe I'll do some of these marbles. We got these kinds that look really like marbles, so maybe I'll do some of those. Oh, since these are big earrings, I can use some bigger beads. Or actually, you know what? Maybe I'll use these instead. I've got these beads. They're blue and they've got little snowflakes on them. I only have 4 of them, so using a couple of them on these earrings would be fine. And then I'll use the others on some other kind of earrings. And then I gotta try to find some blue that goes with this blue. Because a lot of times, if you pick the wrong kind of color to match the stuff you've got, it's not gonna look good, even if it's all blue. Like if I tried to match this teal kind of blue with this like baby blue, it's hard to see on the camera, but it just wouldn't look right to me. So I gotta put that with, I'm gonna put that with these. Wonder if these would fit. No, I don't think so. And since these are earrings, we don't need to have too many of one color. So I think that's good, actually. And then I go back to my neutrals and try to find some beads that go with them. Not those. I've got a lot of these sparkly ones because a lot of those bead sets that I was talking about earlier with the Joanne stuff that you get, they'll come with pretty good signature beads, but then they'll pad it out with a whole lot of just, you know, plain clear sparkly ones. So I save all of those, and I have so many sparkly beads that I can use with some of this stuff to just give it a nice little bit of shine. Not bad. And I've got so many in different sizes and everything, so it's just really easy to put things together. And let's see, let's also do some pearls for this. Not real ones, I don't have real pearls. But I've got some nice little just pearl-like beads here. Although these ones are more cream and not very white. Here we go. Plastic fake pearls. I've got a whole lot of different colors in this one. I've got some pink ones, some gray ones, some cream ones, but I'm looking for pure white. It's just 2 of those. That'll give it some nice contrast, I think. So now I'm going to, with this one, it's a lot simpler. You don't actually need to have a solid plan, because since you're not making an entire long bracelet or anything, it's going to be pretty easy to just pull it apart if it doesn't look the way that you think it would, if it doesn't feel right. Maybe I'll start with a small one here, small sparkly thing, and then I'll put the big blue one on. Maybe a larger sparkly thing, white, blue. So that looks pretty, but we have so much more room. Since we're doing a big necklace, a big set of earrings, we could really start doing some more fun stuff with this. So I will undo this. But now I've got the basic idea for what I want here. So now I'll actually start filling it up with more stuff. Make a really big pair of dangly earrings that are just real sparkly that people want to wear. Let's add another white pearl. And let's get more of those blue. And with all of these, you want to get 2 each of everything because you're making 2 earrings. And then maybe instead of another sparkle piece, I'll find something else. Let's see, these are just some odds and ends. Oh, you know what, these, I forgot I have 2 really big white pearls. So maybe I'll use those instead of second small ones. And since they're plastic, they're going to be really lightweight, so it's not going to rip someone's ear off. That's something I always try to pay attention to when I'm making earrings is, would this rip your ear off if you wore it? And if the answer is yes, you don't put it on an earring. But let's try to get some... where am I? Ah, here we go. I've got some bead caps here, some silver bead caps that can add some interest to the earring. I've got so many different kinds, and yet at the same time I never really seem to have exactly something that I'm looking for. This will work, so I'll use one of those. I don't think I need one on the bottom, not for earrings. It doesn't have to be perfectly symmetrical when it's earrings. But I kind of want something a little smaller for the pearls. So I have, oh, perfect, 2 of these smaller bead caps that I'll use on the pearls. Actually, never mind, I'm not going to use them. instead, for the pearls, I'm not going to cap them. I'm going to put spacer beads, which are a little different. I have a lot of these as well. They're just tiny little things that you put in between beads to just give it a little extra sparkle. I have a lot of different kinds that I could use, but I think I want to try to find something a little bit sparkly. Those are not matching. Alright, these are good. I would love to make earrings inspired by my character, Milkshake. It will not be the same as hers, but it would be a fun homage to use her pink and orange colors with a star charm. That would be so fun. And that's one thing that I'm like, even though I'm no longer doing that thing where I'm trying to make all of my jewelry be inspired by some of my original characters, it's still just fun to make jewelry inspired by your original characters. Just thinking about the either making it something that is themed after them, or making it something that they would wear, making something that it's fun. Do you have any fun charm beads or just charms, I guess? I do have a few. I don't have a whole lot because at first they're not really something that I would usually put on bracelets. I've tried in the past, but I'm just not really a charm bracelet kind of person. You know what? I don't think I need more than this. I think this is good. But I do have a few charms that I'm going to start trying to use more in like my earrings and in necklaces and that sort of thing. What do we got here? One of my characters is really based off like natural stuff, nature, that sort of thing. So I have a lot of these leaf charms that you just put them on the end of your bracelet. It's really hard to see, but they're just these little leaves that you just put on the end of your stuff. And so I got him to put on bracelets, and it didn't really work out. It just didn't look right. I couldn't figure out how to do it well. So at first I was like, oh, well, what a waste of money. I bought all these pretty beautiful little leaf charms, and I'm never going to use them. But no, I'm going to use them. I'm going to put them in earrings and necklaces and that sort of thing. And eventually I will figure out how to put them on bracelets without making it look wrong. And then also I have one of my really good friends once gave me a whole bunch of Kingdom Hearts charms that I'm going to start using those in bracelets, but I wouldn't be able to sell that. That's just stuff for me, because I'm not going to try to sit there and tell Disney that I'm selling Kingdom Hearts stuff. Not me. So, but eventually I am going to start using those charms to make myself some cool, fun jewelry. So yeah, that's fun. I hope to start learning how to make more variety of stuff, more things like bracelets with charms that actually look good, and that sort of thing. So right now I'm putting the big bead on here, and I'm going to put one of these charms on top of it so that it just kind of like hangs over the bracelet real pretty, like that. I'm not bracelet, earring. And then let's see. I like to have a little bit of size variety. I don't like to just have it, but at the same time I like to have a bit of a teardrop shape going on. So, let's do a white one here. Small white pearl. No, you know what, let's just go with the big pearl, and let's see if it works as a perfect teardrop shape. Let's do one of these sparkle things. And a blue. Not blue yet. Let's do the sparkle. The bigger sparkle. And now we'll do blue. Small pearl. Let's trade that around. I'm not really sure how that looks. I'm not really sure what I feel about that. It looks fine, but at the same time, there's just something I don't think the colors are balancing correctly. So maybe I'll switch this around. Maybe I will do a blue. And then I'll do the bigger sparkle. And a white. Maybe I don't need the white pearl. The big white pearl is good enough, actually. With earrings like this, it's just a lot of looking at it, seeing if you like it, seeing if you think that it would look better a different way. And a lot of this does just amount to taste. There's no right or wrong way. It's just a matter of what looks good to you. Everyone is going to find different jewelry that they like to wear. But if you don't like to wear it, then it's not something that you'd really be able to ask your customers to buy from you. It's what I've read, at least, what I've heard. Make what you want to wear, and then you'll find the audience that has your style, and they'll want to buy what you're selling. If you're just making things that you think might be popular, you're not going to be able to tell if it actually looks right, because it doesn't look right to you, because it's not your style. And then the people who like that kind of thing will be able to tell that doesn't look right, because it's what they like, and it's not made the way that they would want it to be made. I'm rambling now, but I kind of like that. I think that's pretty. Right now I'm kind of just focused on the wiring is not as straight as I want it to be, and that's making it hard for me to really tell about the earrings themselves. I think that looks pretty good though. So now what I'm going to do in order to get this made right is all of this extra wire on the ending. It's pretty big. It's pretty long. But what I'm going to do is you take your needle nose pliers and first you make a bend at like a 90-degree angle like that. And then you take the end of it and you kind of roll it up. But it's so long that it's not going to roll up properly for me. At the same time, I don't want to do too much of it. So I think what I'm going to do actually is, instead of that, I'm going to take the wiring and wrap it around the needle nose plier. Or actually, instead of the needle nose plier, I have this old knitting needle that my sister gave me when she wanted to knit for a little while and then decided she didn't. And I'm just going to bend the wire in a circle around this knitting needle so that it will be a uniform size, and I can do the same thing on the other earring and make the loop be the same size. So I loop it around it like so. And then I'm going to... Oh, crap, I did it on the wrong side of the knitting needle. On this side of the knitting needle, I'm going to loop it around until it's a good, perfect circle, or at least as perfect as I can make it, when I'm not very perfect yet. Now I'm going to thread the hook onto it, and just snap it right into place. And now I'm going to take the longer wire end here, and I'm going to wrap it around itself to close it up nice and secure. And now I can use my needle nose plier to just sort of be a bit of a guide for it. And I'm not very good at this yet. This is like the hardest part of making earrings for me, is trying to close up these loops and make them secure, but also still pretty. And then you just kind of wrap the wire around it a few times. This is not turning out very good, but I can try to clean this up. So now it's wrapped. So now I can take the pliers and start trying to make them straighter. Start trying to shape this all up the way it's supposed to be. And then I take this tool, flush wire cutters, and I'm going to try to carefully get in here and cut off the excess wire. And the wire does go flying everywhere, so I have to go like this to make sure that it doesn't hit me in the eye or like crack my glasses or something. Now I'm going to take the pliers again and try to smush the end back into place, which would be a lot easier if I had the right kind of pliers, but I don't, so I just have to kind of try to make do. A lot of the things that I'm going to, once I start getting Ko-Fi subscribers, a lot of things that I'm going to start spending that money on are just like getting the proper tools for everything that I need to in order to do all this correctly, so that I don't have to sit here and be like, well, the tool that I need for this I don't have, so I'm just going to makeshift use my needle nose pliers for it, or I'm going to use this old keychain instead of what I should be using. I'm going to start using the Ko-Fi subscription money to just buy the right tools. But for now, that's pretty good. So then I have this nice dangly earring. Now I'm going to make the other one, and I'm going to try to do it as samey as possible. So I take my pinhead, or I mean head pin, I don't know why I got that backwards. And I start matching it. So I have the small crystal, larger snowflake bead, bead cap, large pearl, spacer, blue, and large crystal. And that is right. So now I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the other one. I make the 90-degree end, and then I'm going to try to get a knitting needle, try to finagle, spin this around it. Try to make it as good as I can. Whilst also not letting myself fall to too much perfectionism and understand that I'm just not going to get it exactly perfect. Now, thread the hook. And wrap it around. Thread the hook again because I let it fall off. Steady. And start wrapping it around. And once I get more practice, this is going to start getting easier for me to do. And it'll start looking better, a little more professional. But that's why I do this sort of thing, is to practice and get better at it. These loops do not want to be next to each other. They're trying to just loop on top of each other. which is making them too big. Yeah, I actually have to kind of unwrap this so I can try to wrap it around better, which is not ideal. I'm hearing my sister come home. She's getting home from work just now. And I'm not getting this right. It just doesn't want to go where I want it to go. Kind of like life. It's making some interesting patterns that I wouldn't mind if I wasn't trying to make it match the other earring. Because that's something, is that a lot of what I've read and what I've seen, would it be possible to order a bracelet abroad beyond US? I am not planning on selling any of this stuff online right now. I'm just planning on stockpiling so that I can sell it at like local craft fairs and local art stores and that sort of thing. I know it's really sad. I would love to do like an Etsy shop or something like that, but it's just not in the cards right now. So, to answer the question, no, it would not be possible to order a bracelet abroad, but it also would not be possible to order a bracelet anywhere. Not at this time. Okay, that's still not quite right, but that's gonna have to be good enough for right now. But yeah, a lot of jewelry making, from what I've read and what I've seen, is also adapting to what is happening instead of being so stuck on your original plan that you might miss out on something. But with earrings, it has to be as close to symmetrical as possible, or else it's just not going to work. Really, that one went really flying. I did not know where that wire ended up. Was just not going to be able to look good because people are wearing matching earrings so that they will match the other earring. But this is good enough. And like I said, some imperfections are allowed and forgiven when you're making something by hand. And I cannot really get this wire where I want it to be. And that's partially because I don't have the right tools for this. Maybe this thing will be easier to use. I can use my crimp tool to kind of squash this wire into being where it's supposed to be. Cool, that works. That's good. That's good enough. So now I just kind of try to make it a little bit straighter. And there we have another earring. So I'm going to put these on a big card. I've got two different sizes of earring cards. I've got small and large. So that way I can differentiate in the future when I'm starting to sell things. I can be like, the small bracelets are this amount of money and the large bracelets are extra because it takes more work, more materials. So I have two sizes of cards, and these are big cards, so I'm in big earrings, so I'm going to put them on a big card. If I can get my fingers to do what I want them to do. So I'm just going to punch out these little holes here. I have a toothpick for some of these smaller holes to punch them out of this cardstock. And then I just slide the earring onto that, put the back on it. And there we have it, a pair of earrings. I think they're pretty cool looking. Nice and festive for winter time. And that's probably all I'm going to do today. So with that, I'm going to sign off and bid you all farewell until the next time. I am planning on trying to do live stream of jewelry every Monday, and then I'm also planning on doing art every Tuesday. So, you're making it look so easy. That's funny because it feels very hard. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining me and helping me figure out my first live stream. I hope that it went well. I hope you guys had fun. And I will see you again later. Now to figure out how to turn it off. Bye!